After I paid off my condo, my sister-in-law declared it a family asset, and tried to move in. Seconds after I whispered one sentence, she screamed like her world had just collapsed. The day I made my final mortgage payment, I thought I'd finally achieved the American dream. I had no idea my sister-in-law was about to turn it into a nightmare. But sometimes, the best revenge comes to those who dig deep enough to uncover the truth. The uncontrollable laughter started the moment my sister-in-law Madison waltzed into my Denver condo and declared it belonged to the family now. Not the kind of laughter you get from a good joke. This was the kind that erupts when someone says something so outrageously insane your brain can't process it. "We've already decided," Madison announced, arms crossed like she was delivering a court verdict. "This place is too big for one person. Ryan and I need it more than you do." I waited for the punchline. It never came. Let me paint you the picture of how I got here. Growing up in Cleveland, my working-class parents taught me one lesson above all: if you want something, you earn it. While my friends were buying new Toyota Camrys and eating at Cheesecake Factory whenever they felt like it, I was living on cup noodles and side hustles, saving every penny for one goal: owning my own home. After years of grinding through college and my 20s, I finally bought a modest 2-bedroom condo in a decent Denver neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Every month, I poured money into that mortgage instead of wasted on things I didn't need. And after 15 years of sacrifice, I made that final payment. No mortgage, no debt, just me, my home, and my peace of mind. Then Madison decided she had a right to it. Madison married my younger brother Ryan 5 years ago, and from day one, she acted like she was slumming it with our family. She came from money, not rich, but comfortable, and never let us forget it. She had opinions about everything: the way we dressed, why we ate at Applebee's instead of fancy steakhouses, the cheap Christmas gifts we exchanged. But what she looked down on most was my condo. "It's so cramped," she'd wrinkled her nose during her first visit. "I could never live in a place like this." Well, apparently she'd changed her mind. What did I whisper to make her scream? "Trust me, you'll want to hear this." Madison didn't come alone to claim my home. She brought the full weight of family guilt with her. "This condo is a family asset now," she explained like she was talking to a child. "You've had it for years, and now that it's paid off, it belongs to all of us." I just stared. "A what?" "A family asset," she repeated, as if saying it twice would make it make sense. "You don't need all this space. Blake and I have a child. You don't. It's only fair we live here." The audacity was breathtaking. "You're insane," I said finally. She huffed. "Ryan and I talked to your parents, and they agreed this is what's best for the family." There it was. My parents had always favored Ryan, the golden child who could do no wrong. Meanwhile, I was expected to be the responsible one, the understanding one. When we were kids, if Ryan broke something, it was my fault for not watching him. If he failed a test, it was because I didn't help him study. And if I ever complained, I was being selfish. So it didn't surprise me that my parents were backing this insanity. But that didn't mean I was going to roll over. I stepped closer to Madison, dropped my voice to a whisper, and said something that made her face drain of all color. She recoiled like I'd slapped her. Then she started screaming, a full-on toddler tantrum scream that echoed through my condo. By the next morning, my phone was exploding. First, my mom: "How could you be so selfish? Your brother needs that space more than you. He has a child. You're alone." Then my dad, my aunt, my uncle, even cousins I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly had opinions about what I should do with my home. Every single one of them was on their side. But I had just discovered something that would change everything. That night, Ryan showed up at my door. Unlike Madison, he didn't get loud or aggressive, he just expected things to go his way. "Look, I know Madison can be a little strong-willed," he said, hands in his pockets. "But this isn't just about her. It's about our family. Mom and Dad think this is what's best." "For who?" I asked. "For all of us," he said like it was obvious. "You're just one person. We're a family. We need the space." I laughed. "You live in a 3-bedroom house, Ryan." "The rent is expensive," he muttered. "Not my problem." He shifted uncomfortably. "You don't even use the 2nd bedroom." I stared at him, amazed. "Do you hear yourself?" That's when I dropped the bomb that made his face go pale. "I looked up your lease. I know you can't break it early without paying 3 months' rent up front. He went silent. A week later, my friend Sarah from a local real estate office called with information that made everything click into place. You're not going to believe this, she said, but Ryan and Madison applied for a mortgage last year. Okay, I said, not seeing the big deal. They got denied. Bad credit. High debt. Really high. Everything suddenly made sense. Madison didn't just want my condo, she needed it. They were drowning in debt, stuck in a lease they couldn't afford to break. Instead of admitting they'd screwed up their finances, they decided to steal my home and call it family fairness. And my parents had no idea they were being manipulated. Time for a family dinner they'd never forget. I walked into that family dinner like a prosecutor entering a courtroom. They thought they'd ambush me, wear me down with guilt until I caved. They had no idea I was armed with the truth. The moment I entered my parents' house in Aurora, I felt the tension. Mom greeted me with fake warmth while Dad barely looked up. Ryan and Madison were already at the dining table, whispering conspiratorially. Madison glanced up with a smirk like she'd already won. The table was set with Mom's good china, pot roast and mashed potatoes getting cold while they waited for me. Right on cue, Mom launched into her speech. Honey, she began, reaching for my hand, we just want what's best for the family. It's selfish to keep that condo when Ryan and Madison need it more. I stayed silent, letting her dig the hole deeper. You could find a nice apartment somewhere. You don't need all that space. I finally spoke. So let me get this straight. You want me to hand over my home so they can live there for free? Not hand over, Dad cleared his throat. Just let them use it. I laughed sharply. And where exactly am I supposed to live? Mom waved dismissively. You could get a nice little place. You don't need much. That's when I went for the kill. I turned to Ryan, staring him down. You already tried to buy a house last year, didn't you? His face went white. What? You applied for a mortgage. Got denied because of your credit score. Madison stiffened. That's none of your business. I ignored her. You're thousands in debt, aren't you? That's why you suddenly want my condo, because you can't afford your place anymore. Mom gasped. That's not true. I shrugged. It's completely true. And instead of being honest about your financial problems, you decided to guilt me into giving up my home. The entire dynamic shifted. I saw it on Mom's face, the first crack in her blind loyalty to Ryan. She could justify pushing me aside for fairness, but debt and bad financial decisions? That was different. You lied to us? She asked Ryan, voice shaking. That's when I delivered the final blow that shattered their world. So let me ask you this, I said, turning to Dad. If I hadn't found out the truth about their finances, would you still be taking their side? He couldn't answer. I stood up. I hope this was worth it, I said, looking directly at Madison, because you just lost any chance of ever getting help from me. She glared, jaw clenched. You'll regret this. I smirked. Try me. I thought that would end it. I thought they'd be too embarrassed to try anything else. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, I came home to find someone had tried to break into my condo. The lock was damaged, scratches around the door frame. I knew exactly who was behind it. But I wasn't just going to change my locks and move on. If they wanted to play dirty, I'd show them how nasty I could get. Instead of rushing to fix the damage, I played it smart. I called a locksmith to install a hidden camera in the peephole that looked like a regular door viewer but recorded everything. Then I upgraded my entire security system, new locks, motion sensors, cameras pointed at the hallway. Then I waited. 3 nights later, at exactly 2:47 a.m., my phone buzzed, motion detected. I opened the app and watched a live feed of Madison standing at my door with a screwdriver, trying to pry open my lock. I recorded everything. Then I called the police. What happened next was more beautiful than I could have imagined. When the cops arrived 7 minutes later, Madison was still hunched over my door handle, completely unaware her world was about to collapse. When they yelled, "Hands where we can see them," she screamed. I opened my door just in time to see her face down on the hallway floor, getting handcuffed. It was absolutely beautiful. Madison was arrested for attempted burglary. She tried spinning some ridiculous story about forgetting her keys, but the police weren't buying it, not with footage clearly showing her breaking in. But here's the best part: Madison was on probation from some small fraud charge years earlier that she'd kept quiet. This arrest violated her probation, and she was facing serious time. My parents begged me to drop the charges. I laughed in their faces. After everything she pulled? Not a chance. They tried guilt-tripping me, crying about family, telling me I was ruining Madison's life. But I'd heard enough of their manipulation. I turned to Ryan. Did you know she was going to break into my place? He couldn't even look at me. That told me everything. Madison served 3 months in county jail. When she got out, her criminal record made it even harder for them to qualify for any mortgage. Their debt spiraled worse. Their landlord in Lakewood raised their rent, and within 6 months, they were evicted. I sent them a housewarming gift, a framed photo of my condo with a note that said, "Hope you enjoy your new place." Oh wait, you don't have one. But the real satisfaction came a year later. The aftermath was everything I could have hoped for. Madison's arrest made the local Denver news: woman arrested for attempted burglary of family member's home. The shame was too much for their social circle. Ryan lost his job at the accounting firm when his background check renewal revealed his wife's criminal record. Apparently, having a felon in the family didn't look good for someone handling other people's money. They had to move in with Madison's parents in Colorado Springs, the same parents whose money Madison had always bragged about. Turns out they weren't so generous when their daughter came home as a convicted criminal with mountains of debt. My parents tried calling for months, leaving voicemails about forgiveness and family unity. I deleted every single one without listening. The final blow came when I spotted them at Target a year later. Madison looked exhausted, worn down. Ryan had gained weight and lost most of his hair. They were quietly arguing about whether they could afford a basic tablet for their kid. I walked right up with my cart full of home improvement supplies, new curtains for my condo, plants for my balcony, expensive organic groceries. "Oh my God, Lyra," Madison said with a fake smile. "How are you?" I looked her up and down slowly. "Fantastic. Just bought furniture for my second bedroom. You know, the one you said I didn't need." Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "Look, Lyra, we've been meaning to." I cut him off. I hope it was worth it. The lying, the scheming, the breaking and entering. I hope it was worth losing everything. Madison's composure cracked. "We lost everything because of you." I laughed, that same uncontrollable laugh from the day she first tried to claim my home. "No, you lost everything because you thought you could steal from me and call it family." I leaned closer, lowering my voice. "And just so we're clear, if you ever come near me or my property again, I won't hesitate to call the police. You're one violation away from going back to jail, Madison. Don't test me." She went pale. Ryan grabbed her arm, pulling her away. As they hurried off, I heard Madison hiss at Ryan, "This is all your fault. I told you we should have just asked her for money instead." Even in defeat, she still didn't understand. It was never about money or space or fairness. It was about respect, understanding that some things aren't yours to take, no matter how much you want them. I finished my shopping, went home to my paid-off condo, and made myself a celebratory dinner, steak, wine, and the satisfaction of knowing I'd stood up for myself when it mattered most. Some people think family means you'll let them walk all over you. The only way to stop them is to make sure they regret trying. And trust me, Madison and Ryan will never forget the day they tried to steal from Lyra Chun. My condo is still mine, my life is still mine, and my self-respect? That's something they could never take away, no matter how hard they tried. Never again would anyone mistake my kindness for weakness.